welcome to church this morning. Well, what a crazy week it has been.
Yeah, we are all adjusting to a whole new way of life pretty quickly. We're having to. This week we've become homeschooling parents. The boys are loving more screen time than ever. You've done your first online fitness class.
I know, it was crazy, via Zoom, and I was the only person at the class. It was amazing. The kids have had virtual Zoom play dates with classmates, but and tonight we're actually doing Alpha online via Zoom, but we're rolling with it. We're being flexible and we're being hopeful.
I don't know how you're finding the whole Zoom thing, the whole online navigation. I just feel like there's a whole new level of self-consciousness for me as I'm talking to someone on screen and then I'm sitting there underneath and just like, how's my hair?
Try not to.
But it's a bizarre thing. We'll get used to it, won't we? We'll all work it out.
Yeah.
You sent me a quote this week from A.W. Tozer, which I loved and I think is really helpful for us now. And he says, "A scared world needs a fearless church."
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
and
it's a good word.
I thank God for his presence with us by his Spirit that enables us to live fearless and his promises to us not to leave us. And I pray that we can learn that approach in this current season. And so I want to encourage us as we connect in for this each week, this broadcast or this show, doing church together in a new way, that you would spend some time in worship. You would spend some time praying. If you're in a family, to do that together. If you're on your own, to do that on your own or over the phone with somebody else. And if you would like some resources for that online, I'd love to point you to those. We have today for you, though, we want to share some news from our Gordon Baptist community with you. Vanessa from our 11:30 English congregation is going to continue our Behold series in the Gospel of John. And John, our senior pastor, is going to lead us in a guided prayer. So thanks for tuning in today and look forward to continuing doing community in this new way.
Hello everyone. You should have received our recent e-news letting you know that all our face-to-face activities and gatherings are now suspended. As a church, we are doing our part to limit contact with others outside our own households. If you or someone you know wants to chat, pray with someone or needs help, please call me or any of the other pastors. We'll be contacting as many of you as possible over the coming weeks just to say hello and hear how you're going. This week I've also been talking with our global partners to check in on them, and we'll share updates with you in our next e-news. In times of limitation and loss, it's especially important to rejoice in good things. Last Sunday, a very small group of us gathered to share in 2 baptisms. Monica and Helen professed their faith in Jesus and their intention to live as his disciples as part of our community of love. We recorded this and their stories of how they came to that point. We hope to share these with you soon, but until then, would you please join with me in giving thanks to God for his work in their lives and pray for them to know his peace and hope as they serve him. May grace, joy and peace be yours today.
So at the moment we are in a strange time and people are experiencing a whole range of emotions at the moment that they might not know how to navigate. How are you seeing some of the anxieties and things play out at the moment? How do you understand them?
Yeah, there are lots of fears and anxieties out there. I think a lot of them can be classified into 3 main types. The first one is a medical anxiety. Could I get sick? Could I catch this? Could I get seriously ill? Could I even die? Then there are the economic worries that people have. Will I lose my job? What's going to happen to my income? My superannuation has gone down a lot. And then there's the third type of anxiety, which is the social anxiety, that I might be isolated, cut off from people. I won't be able to connect with my family and friends in the same way that I normally do.
Yeah, and they're very real experiences for people, and being in Christian community doesn't shield us necessarily from some of these anxieties. But how do we as Christian community think about these things and how would we respond?
Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that in the here and now, these things are very real. People are worried about their jobs, about their medical, about their health, and I think we need to acknowledge that those aren't necessarily going to go away in the short term. In fact, it's something that we're in it together, in that a lot of us have the same fears and anxieties, and in a Christian community we can actually support each other with those things. We need to talk about it as well. If there are things that are really worrying us, if you're in financial distress, don't keep it to yourself, let other people know.
So how would you say we should do that to one another? So if somebody is in a place of stress in some way, they're feeling socially isolated, what does somebody do?
Well, I think one of those ways is to actually reach out to other people. There are plenty of ways of contacting other people, but even before we get to that stage, I think it's really important that people who feel they are in a place where they can help actually be active about reaching out and letting people know and saying, if you do need help, please contact me. I can do some cooking, I can do some shopping.
So reaching out to people that we know and asking that question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I think probably there's some onus on us as a Christian community to be able to be there to help people who are in need. I think of the Christian community in the book of Acts, who are described as caring for everybody who is in need amongst them. And so I think we have to work out how to be that community at this time.
Yeah. I think it's also, it's hard for people to actually ask for help sometimes too. It's easier perhaps to accept help if someone offers it to you. And so I think we need to be actively looking out for opportunities where we can actually offer help to people too.
One thing that we've been thinking about as a family is who in our network, or who that we know might be feeling lonely or feeling isolated or feeling anxious, and to reach out specifically to them. Do you have experience of that yourself in your world?
One way is a small thing. I actually went around and slipped a note under the doors of some of my neighbours, not a creepy note, just a note that said, if you need me to do some shopping for you, if you need anything, my name's Kester, I'm from Unit 9, here's my number, give me a call. I actually got a call from one of the elderly ladies in my building who actually said, oh look, I really loved receiving your note, I'm fine, thank you, but I just wanted to call to let you know that things are good and I really appreciated it. And we had a nice little chat about how things are going. She knew that I was a teacher, she asked how school was, she actually asked how church was as well, because she knew that I went to church. And we were able to have a little bit of a conversation about that. I could ask her about her family too. And it's just a lovely small way that we can be a Christian witness in the world to show that our local community, that as Christians we care about them too.
That's great. And beyond the here and now, I guess there's also the reality that as Christians we have a greater hope. Do you have anything to say about that?
Sometimes in our present troubles it can help to look at God's big picture for us. And the Christian hope is not that we'll be economically prosperous, for example. And so it can help to look at God's bigger plan for us. It doesn't minimise the problems that we might be dealing with in the here and now, but it can help us to be less anxious that things aren't going according to God's plan.
Yeah, and so I think these anxieties are very real for many people in our society at the moment, and also in our community. And I wonder if sometimes the anxieties that we feel are projection to the future that aren't current reality, and we just have to be aware of that with one another. But if we're feeling them, to share them with other people, to carry one another's burdens in that way. And so I guess there's a call to action for any of us who are in any of these situations, that if people are experiencing anxiety, we're saying to them, reach out. Ask for help because we want to help. And then we're also saying to those in our community who may not be experiencing these anxieties, why don't you reach out to other people that come to mind when we talk about this that might be experiencing it, and offer help. We as a church want to do that. So if you go to our website, you'll see that we have ways there that you can connect with us if you are in any need of care, and we'd love to help you. And why don't you, if you're part of our community, let us know areas that you would love to help, and we can connect you where there are particular cases of need. Well, thanks, Kester, for chatting with us today. Kester is part of our 11:30 community, but you're also the current chair of our diaconate, and so thanks for your insights and good to chat today.
Thanks, Steve.
The distinctive central understanding of Christian prayer is that it is keeping company with God. For us, prayer is not a duty, ritual, nor mechanism to get what we want. Instead, it is conscious communion and communication with God. However, I'm guessing you're like me. When I'm stressed or down or have things churning away inside me, I don't relate too well with others. My concentration jumps around, my reactions become exaggerated, and my mood controls me. I struggle to listen and speak well to others. It's the same with prayer. When I'm agitated, I find it hard to pray, even though I know it's the very thing I need to do. But this alerts me to where I need to start in my praying. Doing so enables me to move on in petition for others and praise to God. Stress levels are raised for all of us at present. We're trying to respond as best we can, even as we know we are unsettled or worried or irritable. Peter instructs us in 1 Peter 5:7, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." God welcomes us to come honestly just as we are. He already knows us better than we know ourselves. He also knows what we need before we ask him. It's in the midst of these present experiences that God invites us to know him as he truly is, so that we might enjoy him and become more like him as revealed in Jesus. Through prayer, we experience God in a transforming encounter as he works himself into our lives by his Spirit who indwells us. You can see through the Psalter how the psalmist did this, for example in Psalms 30 to 40. Perhaps you could use one each day as the basis of your personal prayer. But right now, I want to lead you in praying. I will give you 3 steps to take to guide you. You will speak and listen to God as we each move from me to him to us. Find somewhere quiet where you can be alone. Get your body comfortable, sitting still or lying down. Then as you begin, ask God to help you and guide you in these 3 things. You start with you. You are the important me. Examine yourself as you are now or have been through the day. Examine yourself by noticing what is happening inside you. What are the key emotions, thoughts, and bodily sensations? Perhaps you can summarize all of that in just 3 key words. What are the 3 key things? Express to him, as best you can, what you are feeling. Describe to him in words. Explain to him what these emotions are connected to as best you understand them at present. Use I am statements. For example, God, I am really worried about what's going to happen. God, I am really distressed at what I see around me. God, I'm feeling angry at how people are behaving. God, I feel alone. Just let what is happening be. Don't be scared of your feelings, that they will overwhelm you or become permanent. Let him hold them, your hopes, your fears. He is strong and compassionate enough to deal with anything you offer. When you've done that, you will move from me to him. Reflect on what God is like, his being and his character. Recall what he says he is doing to bring salvation through his kingdom come in Jesus. And remember his promises to us, his people. Use you are statements. Tell God what he is like as you know him to be. Describe him to himself. Say to him what you see in him or what you see in him doing in the past, now, or the promised future. So God, you are a shepherd to us. You guide us when we feel lost. God, you are my rock. When everything falls away, I can stand on you. Finally, now you can bring the me and him together in us, you and God together. Entrust your life to him again. Affirm your desire to live for his kingdom now in whatever circumstances each day brings, because you will be relying upon him and seeking him and his will in your daily life. Use words of commitment and confidence. Tell God about what you are choosing to do and what you plan to do with him in the future. Tell him what you'd like to become in imitation of Jesus. Use, with your help, I will statements. Embolden and encourage yourself that whatever comes, God is with you. In the words of the prayer in Psalm 33, we wait in hope for the Lord, for he is our help and our shield. In him our hearts rejoice, for we trust in his holy name. May your unfailing love be with us, Lord, even as we put our hope in you. Amen.
In the Gospel of John, chapter 19, verses 5 to 6, it reads, "So Jesus came out, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. Pilate said to them, 'Behold, the man.' When the chief priests and the officers saw him, they cried out, 'Crucify him! Crucify him!' When Pontius Pilate uttered those words about Jesus, it is probable that he had no idea of the profound relevance of describing Jesus simply as the man. One essential thread that connects the Christmas story to that of Easter is that the eternal Son became human, and as a human being, he reconciled the relationship between God and humanity forever. Let's explore the topic of Jesus' humanity together. There are three angles that we might consider. Firstly, the example that Jesus set as a human being. Secondly, the deep understanding Jesus has of the human condition. And lastly, the ultimate act Jesus brought about in terms of reconciling all of humanity into right relationship with God. Jesus' example as a human being. Christians believe that humans were created in the image of God. In Jesus, we have a reflection of what God had in mind for us. However, it is clear that we have missed the mark. When Pilate said, "Behold, the man," he could have said, "Behold, the best example yet of a man." Jesus, a man without sin, a selfless man, a man on a mission driven by love for all humankind. Jesus' understanding of the human condition. Jesus has first-hand experience being human, and because of that, we can be confident that we are understood. And more than that, we are known. Jesus is sympathetic to our condition. How is this possible? Because he became one of us. He walked in our shoes. He lived in our skin. Jesus experienced real human life, shoulder to shoulder with us. Also, Jesus is our wounded healer. Jesus does not just know about suffering, he has suffered. Jesus suffered betrayal. He was separated from his family and friends. He suffered abuse and torture and death. You and I are not alone in our pain. We are loved by our Saviour who is present, Emmanuel. Jesus restores us to a right relationship with God. Not long before being taken to Pontius Pilate, Jesus told his disciples an astonishing truth. In John chapter 14, verses 19 and 20, he says, "In just a little while, the world will no longer see me. But you're going to see me because I am alive and you're about to come alive. At that moment, you will know absolutely that I'm in my Father, you're in me, and I'm in you." What did he mean? I am in my Father, you're in me, and I am in you. There is an eternity of meaning packed into those 3 brief phrases. They are a simple summary of all that Jesus accomplished in his coming. Jesus brought his loving relationship with the Father to earth and enjoyed it as a human being. He then took hold of us, removed our alienation from God through his death, and then he brought us all forth as new creations in his resurrection. And then he ushered us all into the presence of the Father in his ascension. Let me read a passage for you from a book written by C. Baxter Kruger, a theologian, called Home. Staggering and startling as it is, it remains the great truth about us. It is the secret of our existence. It may be veiled to us, hidden from our sight, and very far removed from the way we see ourselves and our lives. Nevertheless, it is true. The eternal Son became human. As a human being, he knows his Father inside and out, and dwells in faithfulness and security, joy and freedom with his Father in the Spirit. And we have been included in his incarnate relationship with the Father. We are included. Jesus said, I am in the Father, you are in me, and I am in you.
Well, thank you for listening in this morning. I encourage you to connect in with someone this week who you think might need a word of encouragement, who is lonely or is feeling isolated. Just hop on the phone, even after church now, and do that.
We also have a question that's going to come up on the screen that you could spend some time reflecting on yourself, journal about it, have a think about what this means for you, or to connect with other people in the community to discuss it either now or later on in the week. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.